June 2023 was my breakthrough year. I felt like I had made it. In fact, when I woke up every morning, I felt like every air that I was breathing was so pure and I had a purpose in life. But there were certain things that lied ahead, which I could not anticipate, and these things were absolutely crazy. So after working many years in the factories, when I came over here to the UK, I eventually broke through. I set up my own business and I really threw myself right at the deep end because I wanted to do something different and challenge myself. I'm the type of person that thrives through challenging myself, and then when I break through or when I make it, I feel this energy that yes, I've finally done it. So this happened around the area of web design. 2023, Creative Astro was born. This is my first company that I registered in the United Kingdom, and my dream came true about setting up my own business. I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea how to, do customer relations, none of that. I just threw myself right at the deep end. So the first thing I did was try to teach people how to design websites using WordPress. So in Birmingham, I went to a few offices or studios that were around, and I saw one very interesting one, which was really good. So I started promoting and advertising myself out there as someone who taught small business owners to design their own websites. Now, bear in mind, I've never done this before. So surprisingly, this went well, and I had classes of people booked each and every other day across the week. So the first batch of 20 students came in. So that night, my heart was beating, anxiety, not knowing what I was going to do the next day, because now this was it. The people paid and now they're expecting a result. So anyway, in the morning, I went in and the first student came in, second one came in, and I was saying to myself, wow, this is happening. Is this me? In fact, I had to slap myself just to see if I wasn't dreaming. So as soon as everyone was in, I did the register and everyone was all settled. I was so nervous. In fact, while I was standing there facing all the students, I could feel sweat dripping down from my armpits all the way down close to my feet. That was the first time this has ever happened to me. And it dawned on me that this was actually anxiety, or rather, the nerves. So anyway, I remember the first words that I said to the class was, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've never done this before, so please bear with me. I'm really nervous." And to my surprise, everyone's like, "Don't worry about it. Hey, we all good. Everything is fine." And I was like, okay, thank God for that. So I started doing my presentations and everything was going on well. We had a tea break. Everyone had a break. So I had a couple of classes for about 2 to 3 weeks. And one day in one of the classes, one of the students came to me and said, "Why?" Oh, first of all, he said, "Do you make a lot of money doing this?" And I said, "Nah, not really." And then he says, "You know what? With the knowledge that you have and the confidence that you have, why is it you don't have a lot of money?" So at first I thought this guy was asking me just to, have a go at me. In fact, there were so many things going on in my head. Is he saying this because I'm black? Is he saying this because he really wants to help me? Is he saying this because he wants to advise me? Or is he saying this to break me? I wasn't sure why he was asking me this. So we went to the corner where we had all the coffees and the biscuits, because I was offering coffee and biscuits for everyone that came to the web design class. So anyway, I made my coffee, he made his, and we sit down during the break. So he said to me, "Look, you have so much knowledge in this web design stuff. You could be doing something so amazing with this. You could create an agency. You could do pretty much whatever you want, because what I've seen today was really amazing. You did a very good job." So, limiting beliefs. I didn't believe that I could go beyond what I was doing. And sometimes, we believe in our own stories that we tell ourselves. Now, obviously, with me coming from a poor family and not having a lot growing up, this for me was a dream come true. This was like the I made it type of thing. Of course, people have different levels. So with me, I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I didn't believe that I could do more than what I was doing. So anyway, it got me thinking, but I did not have an idea of how I could make more money with this. So a few classes went by, and boom, one gentleman from the class after the training came to me and said, look, I see what you're doing and I'm super impressed. But you know what? I want to start a business. But the missing link is the technical side of things. So anyway, we started talking. So it turns out that this guy was an ex-military general of the UK. So he wanted to, because of course he's retired. So he wanted to set up a business and that we could partner. And this business was around the security industry. Now, of course, I need to clarify this. When you hear security, usually people from Zimbabwe, we think about security companies for guarding and that kind of stuff. No. The security industry that I'm talking about here is anything really that governments buy to protect themselves or to provide security. So this covers things like CCTVs, airport scanners, in defense, anything to do with security. So it's a massive field. So he had a lot of contacts in this field, but he did not have a way to reach out to these people. And this is where he said I came in, because we wanted to go digital. A lot of the companies in the security industry, they pretty much did the traditional way of doing newsletters or newspapers themselves to then, advertise themselves. So what he was proposing was we do a digital version, because this is an industry where companies get all these contracts and they're not really quick to innovate because they have their money all set with big contracts companies. So anyway, I thought about it and I made a decision that moment, and I said, listen, I think this makes a lot of sense. If I'm going to focus on the tech side and you focus on the clients or getting the business, then this is a no-brainer. We shook hands and we were ready to go. So we decided, hey, there's no need to to get another office for this new business. So we registered the business. Me as the co-director, everything was all good, 50-50. I was happy with that arrangement. So as I was doing my training, he was coming in, doing his work. And at the same time, in the evenings, I started building the platform for pretty much it's like a directory of companies that sold different types of tech in the security industry. So I was building that after my training every day. And I did this for 6 months. It was really, really tough. I remember sometimes I would sleep at the office, on the floor, just to make sure I get this done. So anyway, it was time now for us to launch. We launched the website, and to our surprise, a lot of companies felt really threatened by the approach that we were doing, because we were the only company at the time that had a really good directory, which was very, very easy to use. And pretty much we did a lot of SEO, so it was easy to find online. So we started getting a lot of companies contacting us, wanting to work with us, because they wanted to kill the competition, really. Because you know how it is, sometimes big companies, when they feel that small companies are a threat, they buy them out just to make sure that they remain in their position. So anyway, there's a company that reached out to us and gave us a proposal which was very difficult to ignore. So the proposal was like this. They wanted this big company wanted to buy our company, the one I created with my business partner. So this one here is a bigger company. They wanted to buy ours, okay, and merge them to become one company. But the deal was for them not to pay us money, but to give us positions in this big merger as directors. And at the same time, we had salaries and business credit cards. So which meant fuel and all that just went on the business credit card. And the chairman of this business was a multimillionaire. In fact, at the time, he was worth $500 million. He made money, a lot of money in the steel industry, really old school. So this guy, he was very, very nice. He liked me a lot. And I took this opportunity for me to learn about money, about business, about how money works. Because bear in mind, I'm coming from Zimbabwe. I have no idea how money works. The people who we think are rich are only people who have a house and a car. Okay, pretty much. We don't see any real tangible assets. At least that's my opinion. Because When I look at Zimbabwe right now, the people that get respect a lot are people with a house and a car. And pretty much that's the limit. Of course, there are entrepreneurs, but generally speaking, we're not looking at those entrepreneurs as much as we focus on someone with a house and a car. So that was like the I made it part. So with me, that's what I had in my head. I didn't think that there were people out there who had a lot of money and invested in huge business, a bit like what Strive Masiwa is doing. Anyway, so I will take a lot of time to, ask, a few questions here and there, just to find out, how the world of money really works. And to my surprise, he wasn't someone who came across like he was a multimillionaire. He was so simple. I mean, if I could show you pictures of this gentleman, you'll be surprised. Very simple guy. There's nothing. He didn't even used to wear any branded clothes. No Gucci, no Louis Vuitton. Just simple guy. And he just drove a nice Mercedes, nothing extravagant. Simple guy. And it got me really thinking like, wow, is this guy really rich or he's really making this up? Because we want to see the fruits of the riches. But he told me a few lessons, and in fact, I want to share this with you before I go on to the next part. So anyway, he said to me, you know what? Whatever you do, don't spend in advance and don't spend more than you're earning. I know it sounds basic and silly, but these lessons, I took them literal from that moment onwards. And it really helped me a lot till today. Anyway, so finally, I sat down with my business partner and I thought, right, this is really something that we can do. We have a salary, which is good. Secondly, I'm still working on that department where we're keeping the websites up and running and it's performing. So really, I'm in my field. And my business partner also had, he was the managing director, which was fantastic. The owner of the other company, the big one, was the chairman, the multimillionaire guy. So we merged, super excited. We had extensive meetings. So there was one of the first meetings in particular was a meeting where we were discussing the exit strategy. What was the point of this and what's the exit strategy? What's the time involved and all of that. So, of course, this guy is a multimillionaire. He knows his figures. He was very confident. He says, look, guys, with this merger, if we work and we meet all our goals, I don't see why in 5 years' time, each and every one of us does not walk away with $1 million. Because it's a huge industry, and I'm sure that we are going to break through a lot of barriers, and digital is the way. So I asked so many questions because for me, 5 years, 1 million. Wow, that was a lot of money. I could see myself building houses in Zimbabwe, buying a house here in the UK, driving my favorite car just after that meeting. So anyway, it looked like this was a very good option. So we had the agreements. And to be honest, I didn't even read it. I did not even read it. And my business partner, he read a little bit, but to be honest, we were both excited. We were super excited that, we built our product in 6 months. Wow, we are working with, we were acquired by an even bigger company. This was like phenomenal for us. So anyway, we signed this contract, which was prepared by the lawyers. So first year, we made a lot of money. We went for all these conventions in Dubai, London Excel, all over the country. Or whenever there was a security event, we would go to all these events to advertise our products. And just so you know the nature of the business, the idea with the business was we ran articles and stories within the security industry. And the way we would make money was through the advertisement. So this big company here had a newspaper, and we brought in the digital side of things, the blog and also the directory. So we'll do a lot of articles, place some ads. And on my side now, I had to create all the ads for some companies that needed them. We had to go and do filming, and sometimes companies would showcase their products and we'll charge them for the filmmaking and all of that kind of stuff. And first year we made a lot of money. We even went to all these conventions and we would record all these companies talking about their brand new tech and all of that. Fantastic. It was brilliant. But what I didn't realize was there were times in the year where business was low because companies were doing their budgets, or sometimes maybe they've spent the money and they're waiting for the new budget. So there was dips in the year where there was no money. So as the company is growing, we're employing more people, and of course your outgoings matter, the rent, the wages, and all of that. So in the dips, we would find that there was quite a little bit of money. We hadn't saved enough here for us to take care of the dips, because we were investing a lot of this money to grow the business. So I didn't know that behind all this, there was a plan, and I'll tell you the plan in a moment. So anyway, whenever we had a dip, where it hurt the most was when us directors could not be paid. So I'm saying to myself, wow, yes, I'm a director. It feels good to be a director, but if you're not getting paid, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll promise that no, this happens in business, it's fine. So that reassured me. And what did I do? I went and bought my dream car, the Jaguar X. This car was amazing. Every time I went in, I had all these programmable buttons. The seat would readjust, the steering would adjust, and it was just an amazing car. And of course, you guessed it, I didn't buy it cash. It was on finance. Stupid move. I should have never done that. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So I bought this car on the basis that, you know what? Let me enjoy myself, because the fruits at the end are definitely coming. We're going to have about 1 million out there in the end. And in the meantime, as directors, I also have a salary, and my web design business is still there working in the background. So I was pretty much financially in a very, very good place. So why not buy a car that really makes me feel good? And besides, I'm a director. Remember, I'm a director now. I can, you know what? This is crazy. Anyway, so year 2, we'll do the books. We'll have an annual meeting, review how everything was going. And yeah, it was good. Very impressive. Year 3 is when we started having a lot of problems now, because the company needed money to survive, really, because it was growing. We were investing in the company, but the wages were not there. So when we were behind on pretty much everything, the chairman would say, you know what? Okay, I am going to pay for all this stuff that's needed as a loan to the company. At that time, you know, when you're desperate, sometimes you just take on anything. That's what used to happen. So the rest of the directors now, all 4 of us, we were like, yeah, you know what? We need this money, we need this money. So why don't we, let him pay. It can be a loan to the company. That's fine. If it means that we all have to minus whatever amount it is from our million, then that's fine. We can live with that. So it happened for the first time. It happened the second time. But you know what? Because in this structure, we were 33%, 33%. And I think the chairman had, no, I think it was 25%. Anyway, the chairman had a bit more of the shares, but the rest of the directors, we all had the same pretty much share. So what I didn't know, which I found out later, was every time he was bailing out the company, it was somewhere there in the clause that if he does that, he's actually buying back some shares. So every time he did that, he was buying back the shares, but we didn't know because we didn't read the contract. So it got to a point where he had so much shares that pretty much he had the say in the whole thing. Because obviously, when you have like full control of the company, you have to have the majority of the shares. And he had majority of the shares at that point. So he then decided that, you know what? This company is not doing very well. And you guys don't have the money to pay what we need. We've got wages that we need to do, rent, blah, blah, blah. So, and credit cards as well. You can't, all of you guys can't afford it. So I don't want to be dealing with this company anymore. So I was like, oh boy, where are we going with this now? So of course my instinct kicked in. And I said, okay, I want to sell my shares in the business. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the value of the company today, if I sell my shares, I get that value. Even if it's 5,000, I'm happy to walk away with that, because we were skipping some months, as directors, our salaries weren't coming in through as directors. And that was really annoying me, because here I have a car I need to pay off, Anyway, we had a meeting, and this meeting it didn't go very, very well, because I could sense the atmosphere was different. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm very happy to sell my shares. And I was told at that point that I didn't have any shares in the business. So as you can imagine, I'm like, what you mean? And then the contract was pulled out, and I read whatever the clause was, that pretty much Every time he bailed out the company or he put money in the company, he was basically buying back the shares at the amount, at the value at that time. So at that time, I think the value of the company was, or at the time, I think it was around 4 million. The value, comparing with other companies, how the other companies were performing, it was worth around that much. So I asked this question 3 times. Does that mean we're leaving the company with nothing? And he said yes, with a straight face. And my heart just sank. Here I am, building all these castles. I'd even said to my wife, you know what? We can actually build a house back home. You know how people look down on us and think that for all these years we've been living in the UK, we haven't done anything, we haven't bought a house, we don't have this, we don't have that, and everyone else is buying houses and we have nothing. Every time we went on holiday, people would look at us funny, like, you were in the UK for all this time, you don't even have a house. I mean, like 15 years in the UK, you have nothing. That was the attitude with people. And obviously, me coming from a poor family, it didn't go down very well with me. So can you imagine that dream of buying that house was gone in that meeting? It was a summer's day, very hot, but that moment I felt a chill throughout my whole body because I'm a visual person. I started imagining all those ideas just melting away. So I said to myself, well, it is what it is. What can I do? So he took over the company and sold it. But to this day, we have no idea how much the company was sold for because obviously it was not in his interest to let us know. And besides, it's none of our business at that point. So I sat down with my business partner and I said, listen, is there anything that we can do here? And he says, look, first of all, if we were to fight this, we need lawyers. Secondly, we were not careful. So it is what it is. So we parted ways with this big company. And I mean, we remained friends with my business partner and we were fuming. We were furious. And I remember at that time I had, you know, I'm one of those people that doesn't believe in depression because I say, no, depression doesn't really exist, you know. But the first time I fell down was that moment because I felt so helpless. So I'm looking at the car now. It's becoming a massive expense for me because every single month I have to pay close to 380, 400 every month. And this was supposed to happen for the next 5 years. And I was looking at that car, I started hating it because I'm like, where is this money going to come from? And that is where my anger issues really escalated. I became very, very difficult to deal with because, you know, when you don't have money, you look at yourself and you feel like you're a nobody, even around family, you're a nobody. So I was just constantly angry. I mean, I wouldn't say the anger is gone. Even now I have it because when I don't meet my targets and I'm behind on bills or money like that and things are not working, yeah, I get very upset because what you see on camera right now is me talking about the situation, but I'm not in the moment. Anyway, so we started calculating basically how much money that he could have made, and we came to a figure of about 3 million. We probably sold it for about 3 million. Maybe if we're really going to go down so low, maybe 2 million. So 2 million, let's say, divided by 4 was what we could have got, but all that went. So the lesson I got from all of this was don't sign things out of emotion. Read these things through. And when it comes to life-changing decisions like this, you even need to go to a lawyer to take a look at it and see if there's any way that you could be screwed over. Because what happens when things are good, and this happens in relationships, it happens in business, when things are good, we are on the same page because we have the same energy, right? Have you noticed that when couples get married, because we have the same energy, you assume that things don't go wrong because you're in a happy moment. But when things go bad, they can be so bad to a point where you can actually become enemies. That's just the reality because emotions are working here. And sometimes you have to defend yourself. So that's what I did in my case. I was very emotional and everyone was happy when we were signing these contracts. We were so happy thinking, yeah, we're going to conquer this world. We are going to be massive. But we did not anticipate what would happen when things go wrong. And that's where I missed the boat. Because when making decisions, you don't make decisions based on just the positive outcomes, but what and how you need to react and act when things are also not going bad. I just focus on the positive. Anyway, those lessons were very hard. So right now, as we stand, when it comes to going into partnerships, it's not easy for me just to accept a partnership which is not very clear and that benefits both parties and has all the ingredients that protects both of us or whoever is in the agreement. No more emotional decisions. And also, what I also learned from this was don't spend before you've actually got the money, counting your chickens before they're hatched. That's crazy. Imagine, I was already driving my dream car before I even made it. That was a very silly move. So now that incident humbled me, and I gave the car back, even though I had paid so much money for the first 3 years, because part of the deal was if you want to cancel the contract, you return the car, no questions asked, but you cannot be refunded. So that car went, and I was back to square one. I started using buses and trains. And you know that company that I had that I said was designing websites? It had so much debt, I dissolved the company. So that big baby that I said was a massive breakthrough for me, that just died. Company's dead, car is gone. Now I'm back to walking and using public transport, basically trying to build up again. But after about a year or so, I started a new company. This was 2016, and that's the company I'm still running till today. It's a marketing company. Opportunities from that arose, and here I am today. But that incident, it humbled me. It really humbled me. But I did not give up. So for those of you who go through a lot of challenging situations, just keep your head up high and don't give up, because the money I lost here was a lot, but it is what it is, and we just keep on moving. Anyway, guys, that's my story. That's how I lost a lot of money in the UK. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. And by the way, this is a true story.